This is Feng Shui Radio. Las mejores noticias en metafísica china.
Hola, buenos días. Estamos en una nueva edición de Feng Shui Radio. Volvimos después de un poco de vacaciones. La realidad es que me tomé, creo que 5 meses de vacaciones de radio. Y bueno, traigo muchas cosas nuevas. Una de las cosas de las cuales vamos a hacer hoy es una entrevista con Nathalie Mourier. Nathalie Mourier es una amiga que, conocí hace muchos años. Ella se dedica al Feng Shui, se dedica al I Ching, tiene varios intereses, es muy buena en lo que hace. Ella empezó hace rato a estudiar lo que se llama Fachimen. El Chimen Dunya tiene varias áreas y tiene varias escuelas. Ella estudió en Taiwán. Y una de las cosas para las cuales se usa el Fachimen es para todo lo que es la parte espiritual. Hoy vamos a hacer una entrevista dedicada al uso de los talismanes y a la creación de talismanes. Espero que le guste y le damos la bienvenida a Nathalie.
Hello, Alex, and everyone.
How are you? Long time we don't talk.
Yeah. We've tried to do that in the past, but it didn't really work. So this time is the right time for us to do it.
Okay.
I'm very happy to do the interview with you today and to talk to your crowd.
Super. What is a talisman? We will go directly, straightforward to the point. What is a talisman?
Straight to the point, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. A few words then on talismans. What is a talisman? I practice talismans within a Taoist lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Talismans are a way to put energy, to put chi in form, so that the chi from heaven can be made available to the individual for making adjustments, whenever we encounter problems. So in the form, a talisman can be written on a sheet of paper.
Yes.
Can be drawn on water. It can be drawn in the air. It can be done on a person. And so there's a form, and that form by itself doesn't do anything. Well, not very much. Actually, the power of the talisman comes from the fact that when we do a talisman,
yes,
we connect to heaven, and we look for the chi, the type of energy that the person needs, and that we draw that energy and we put it in the form. And the energy of the talisman is freed, is made available to the individual when the talisman is activated by them. So by activity, what I mean, if you have a talisman drawn on paper, sometime we will hang it on the wall to change the energetic field of the place where the talisman is, or we can hang it close to a wooden bed, for example, when someone has some typical kinds of issues. Yes. We can burn it. When you burn a talisman, you will free the energy that's inside it, and the energy is taken by the individual energetic fields, and then the flow is going to happen. So talismans have existed for many centuries, probably 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years. You can find them in Chinese culture, but you will also find them in many other cultures, like people in Africa, Muslims, Jewish people also have a long tradition for talismans. So this is not specific to Chinese people. You find it in very different cultures around the globe, and yet they've been around for a long time. But the talismans I do in a Taoist lineage. Like we have a set, we have habits, we have a cosmological context within which we work.
Perfect. The idea is concentrate the chi and put the chi on the seal.
Yes.
Okay.
Not on the seal, on the talisman.
On the talisman, okay. And with the seal, fix it on the talisman.
Yes, so the procedure goes like this, because what we do is we do fat shimen. So actually our talismans are also related to fat shimen, meaning that because I also do Chimen Duncha, what we do is, say for example, you've had a nasty car accident.
Yeah.
And you're sick or you're traumatized. Usually when we have a big shock, whether it's physical or emotional or psychological, all our energetic fields go into chaos. And if your energetic fields go into chaos, then your life goes into chaos, because it's not running, it's not flowing properly.
Yep.
So what we will do is we will calculate a specific Chimen Duncha time and date.
Yes.
Because we know, for example, if we want to do talisman for these people, for this person who had an accident, we want a very specific type of energy to be present. So we calculate a date and a time when, in a given direction, the chi that we need for restoring the individual's energetic field is present.
Yes.
So what we do, we first calculate the pace. Then, we have a daily training so that our energetic field as a practitioner is as powerful as possible. And then we also do meditation, because we have to learn to connect to heaven and to keep the connection open for the length of the session during which we draw the talisman. So we calculate a Chimen Duncha chart, we prepare ourselves, and then when the time has come, we connect to heaven and turn into, we use the chi that's present in that direction at that time in that day.
Yeah.
And we ask what we call the three purities, the three fundamental forces of the Tao, and then we it's like a prayer, we just ask heaven, to which we are connected, to serve a command. Like we want to draw. For example, we would say, it's not exactly the words, but we would say that we want to have all the shashi contained in the energetic field of the individuals to be dispersed. So that's the command we do, and we write it on paper. Then at the end, we will do certain things, and then by the end of it, we will use a seal. We have different seals, and then we will seal the order.
Okay, perfect.
So by the time we have finished the talisman, the energy that is needed is encapsulated within the sheet of paper, for example, if we use a sheet of paper. So the chi is there, and then we give it to the person, and we calculate a date where they're going to use it. And for example, for the case that I mentioned before, what we would do is we would use one talisman. I would draw 4 or 5, depending on the situation. And then the individual at a given date will take a shower. For example, they burn the talisman, the ashes go into the water, and they wash themselves with the water. So what do they actually do when they do that? The chi encapsulated within the paper is going down into the water when you burn the talisman. And when you wash yourself with the water, you purify all your energetic fields, all your energetic bodies with this very pure energy. And depending on the situation, we will repeat the session, the burning sessions, the burning with paper and showering a few times until everything is cleaned up. And it's really, I've done it for myself because Master Lee, the head of the lineage, insisted that we try all talismans on ourselves, and didn't really have any issues. But then, we all have things. I'm not a newborn, and I tried it, and I was really amazed because I did it in the morning, something like 5 o'clock in the morning. That was a good time to do it, and I had a lunch that day with a client, and we had an issue that's been going on for years and years, and the issues were solved almost right away during the lunch.
Wow.
So that's purification.
Yeah, this is so fast.
And I've used it also for clients who had very bad motorbike accident. Don't ask me why. Quite a number of clients with motorbikes. And motorbike people tend to have accidents, and when they have accidents, usually they're quite severe. And both of them have recovered much faster than they would have normally.
Yeah.
One still has problems. I'm not doing miracles, of course. One has got nerves cut in the arm, and that I'm afraid I'm not capable of reconnecting the nerves. That's beyond me. Yeah. But his recovering process was much better. Yeah. And another one broke an ankle and twisted a number of things and everything. And so he was in bed for a few months. Yeah. And the physiotherapists were really very surprised to see how very fast he would recover. Yeah.
When you say, I hear two or three things. I remember a long time ago I was in China and we were talking about talisman with people there, and they say that they put in the water and drink the ashes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have many types. That's what we call an activation. Where we draw the talisman and then we give it to the person, and the person has to activate it in order for the chi to come to them. So depending on the talismans, what you use it for, sometimes we will burn it on the threshold of the house. For example, for prosperity talismans, we will do that. We will burn talismans on the threshold of the house. Sometimes we want to purify something that's inside the body of the person. Then, as you said, you will burn the talisman over water, and you will drink the water with the ashes. Yeah. Or you will draw the talisman in the air over the water. Okay. The chi goes into the water, and you drink the water. You can also bury talismans. It just all depends what you use the talismans for.
Oh, okay.
Like, for prosperity talismans, you normally use a set of 4 talismans in our lineage. Yeah. 3 you burn, which is a way of connecting to prosperity. And then 1, which is made in a special way, you will keep in a place where you have money.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Also, in another traditions, the talisman is you put under the earth or you throw to the river to expand into the world.
Yeah. Some of them you will bury in the earth because what you're trying to do is reinstate a flow of chi within a very solid. Talismans vary a lot depending on situations. Like, you don't have one talisman for everything. You have talismans for relations issues, for example, but you have many types of relational issues. So depending on the problems you have, we will draw one talisman or another one. So when someone asks for a talisman, usually what we do is I have a small discussion with them. Why do you want a talisman? What's the situation you're in? And then based on what they will say, I will pick up a talisman that matches their situation and what they have to solve. And then also other things, we do talismans for backward mirrors, for feng shui. Those talismans you will not burn, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But we do them on the mirror, on the back and on the front, and then you set the mirror, and then the mirror is much more active. And I was really amazed because so far I never did that in the past. But when I started activating mirrors this year, I was really amazed how people would react to it. That was really very, very powerful, and I didn't think it was so important. Or you can also do talismans for correcting someone's patsu. When the 4 pillars are upset by something. It means the chi of the person is upset. Then we do a talisman specifically for that, or for the Tai Sui of the year. I did Tai Sui. I did Tai Sui talismans this year for people who had problems with a house facing high, or they had a very bad shashi in a high position. Those things. And those talismans typically you don't burn, you don't bury them, but you put them on the wall.
And what effect did you see using talisman and feng shui?
Okay, so I've done 3 types of feng shui talismans. One for somewhere for Tai Sui of the year. So in the beginning of the year, what I normally do, I prepare some sets that are really related to the Tai Sui of the year. And one of my clients she does a lot of feng shui. She's a feng shui consultant herself. She used to be one of my students, and then she had a problem with a high position, so her Tai Sui was upset.
Yeah.
But she's very sensitive. So I said, well, you should use a Tai Sui talisman, and so she did it. And she texted me back the same night or the night after, saying that it was really amazing because the flow of the place where she put the Tai Sui talisman was much more fluid. The flow was reinstated, pacified. I know of someone who's used one hung outside because in the high position somebody was doing renovation, and that was a very nasty one, and they walked out of it without any problems. When you use it, for example, for mirrors, that's absolutely amazing. And I did some preparation for mirrors. It's a very long talismans to draw. It's a little bit, it's touchy work. And then what I did is, those clients, they needed one Bakwa mirror. But I trained very hard a few days before. So when the time came to do the talismans, I activated 2 mirrors. And then she came to pick it up. I didn't tell her what happened. I said, okay, you have a choice of 2 mirrors. Which one would you like? And she's not used to those things.
Yeah.
But then the first mirror I activated, I really had my thought on them. So she looked at both mirrors and she said, I'll have this one. And that was funny because it was exactly the talisman I was drawing and thinking about them and the house and their problems, the shashi facing the house and everything. And so far they're doing very good. I mean, they hanged it in a special place and outside, of course, and saying. And then another thing you can do with feng shui is, when there are 2 things. When the shape of the place is not regular, like you have a missing sector or 2 or 3 missing sectors. So we use a set of talismans for that, because it means the chi flow is not correct. So use a talisman to regulate the chi of flow, the flow of chi. Sorry. And another experience I've done is, when you have very bad flying stars in a sector, really nasty ones. And then you have a monthly and maybe a yearly star that's really not very good for it, and it just goes boom. Then we regulate the chi flow using a talisman. And normally what I've noticed for that is that problems don't disappear right away. But within a few hours or few days, the situation tends to calm down and things start to flow more normally.
More normally, yeah, perfect. I mean, you can do, in poor words, you can restore or cure the chi when the chi is having a little bit of down cycle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And for example, for the health, when you use talismans, you go to general cures. I mean, people is bad, and you try to work in specific organs, okay? Like you can do in acupuncture, no? You go to give energy to the stomach, or you go to work on the liver, using for example, the 5 elements, or you go to restore the general flow of the chi on the body.
I think that when we do talismans, we don't actually work on the physical level.
Okay.
We work on an energetic level, which obviously has an impact on the physical level. If your energetic field is upset, then the body doesn't come all right. So we have various types of talismans for health. For example, I mentioned before how we make sure that the flow of chi is correct after a very big trauma, but it can be very specific too. Like, if you have, I didn't do it myself, but a close colleague of mine did it. And, like for fecundity, sterility problems, when women cannot have children, we have, they can be specific conditions. So we don't deal with the organ itself, as you asked, but we deal with the condition of the person. And this girl, she had an amazing experience. This woman came to see her, and she had gynecological problems for many years, and she had seen many doctors, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that colleague of mine, she didn't know what to do, and then she said, "Okay, we try talismans." So we have some talismans for women problems.
Yeah.
You know, for getting pregnant, for pregnancy to run well, for delivery, you know, giving birth to happen in the most perfect way.
Yeah.
So she gave him, and then we have some for curing women's disease. So she drew one and she gave it to the woman, and much to her surprise,
Yeah.
the problem was not entirely solved, but
Yeah.
vastly better.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So we don't, you know, what was sorry, there was a long answer to your question.
No,
but we
it's okay. It's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah.
In my practice, we don't deal with a specific organ.
Yeah.
We could, I suppose, but that's not the training we have.
Yes.
And then we deal with the condition of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And then as practitioners, we also learn to be very modest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I described before how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, when I see the results, sometimes you can wonder, how does it work? So sometimes some things we can understand. We understand how, you know, how it functions, how it works, the context within which we work. We understand that. But some things happen when people use the talismans which are way beyond what we could think. The first talismans I did, I'm going to give you an example if you want. Do you want an example?
Sure. I love examples.
Okay, so I have one of my former students, not the one I mentioned before, but another one. She also does Chimendunja. Not Fat Chimen, but Chimendunja.
Mm-hmm.
And then she called me up one day, it was 3 years ago, I think. And she said, well, you know, my daughter has got a business problem, but I'm too involved. So I don't dare to deal with it because, you know, I'm partial.
Yeah.
Would you do it? So I agreed, of course. And then I had this working session with her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the conversation, I understood that she had been attacked by black magic.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
So I told her, well, if you want to have a talisman that could clean what was sent to you and disperse all this bad chi and give you some kind of protection. So it so happens that in the process of the discussion, she also mentioned that she had problems with her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So I did the talisman, sent it to her, and then I get news a few weeks later that a few days after she used the talisman, a few days after she used the talisman, she broke up with her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Which was a way of cleaning things. And then also some of the problems she had were dealt with, but absolutely not in the way we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's things changed in her life, which made it that she escaped the problem that the black magic people were sending.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, you know, we have an intention of doing something, but the way it's going to manifest is usually way beyond what we can think. Mm-hmm. And another case I can give as an example, because I was very touched by what happened to that person. This client, they had some problems. You know, she is a very high level manager in a very big company here in France. Mm-hmm. She's around, you know, in her late 30s, and what she told me, she normally has a lot of intuition as to where she is going, what she should do, what she could do, and everything. Mm-hmm. But then when she got in touch, she felt she was stuck. You know, she didn't have any more vision of what she wanted to do or how things were going and everything. No more intuition. Everything was just chaotic. So I did some feng shui. For them, and I also did some very specific feng shui talismans and a prosperity talisman. Mm-hmm. And some of them she had to burn. Some of them she had to wash with. Some of them she had to bury. And one of them she had to throw into the river. Mm-hmm. So I told her no. And then I said, when you're finished, the last talisman, pick up a place where you feel comfortable with, you know, a place that you like on the river side, and this talisman is to help you understand what type of work, what kind of position you should be going for, and give you the mean of reaching it. I said, okay. So she does all the talismans, and then one morning she calls me up and she's crying over the phone. I said, oh wow, what happened? And I said, I told her, are you right? She said, oh yes, and then crying. I said, well, what's going on? So the story is like that. The night before, she went with her husband on the riverbank. In Paris we have a big river. So in the evening, it was like early summer. They went on the riverbank in a very nice place, and then she concentrated on her professional issues. Like she wanted to have an idea, a vision of what she wanted to do, of where she was going, and which job to pick up. Because by that time she was offered 2 jobs, and she didn't have any idea which one to pick up. And then she burned the talisman. And she felt very touched. And then her husband takes her by the shoulder and makes her turn around towards the sidewalk wall. And on the wall, somebody had painted, "Pick up the job of your dreams."
It was the husband who passed before and write it.
It was just so, and then she went crying in. It's a year ago, but even telling you the story, I still have shivers on the skin.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, really good. Synchronization is amazing. Yeah. Okay, great. This is nice to understand and see more about the talisman. No? I know you are a teacher. Are you teaching?
Talismans, you mean?
Yeah.
No.
Why not? In a few years.
Feng Shui, Patsu, I Ching, but I don't teach talismans. I was supposed to teach talismans. I would have to be entitled by the head of lineage to do so. But I've done that for 3 years. Okay. The thing is, it's much easier for me to do because I've been doing meditation for many years. So it's easier for me to connect. I'm not saying I'm always connecting good, but it's easier to connect. And also I probably have I have a very regular Tai Chi, Tai Yin practice, to grow my Chi. But no, I don't teach that.
I know this is in your plans, not yet, but I know it.
No, but I don't know, because actually teaching talismans is a very big thing, because to do talismans and to be good in doing talismans, it requires from the student a lot of work and perseverance. I mean, really, I really mean it. I mean, you can imagine how many days and weeks I've put on working on talismans and on training, and it's not, most of the time it's not fun at all. I'm not saying that it's a very painful experience. That's what I want to say. But you have to, day after day after day, you have to do it. And it takes time. So teaching is one thing, but actually the problem for a teacher, I suppose, is to find students who are going to commit to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Normally people say, oh, I love to learn it, and then when they go through the process, oh, it's too hard, oh, I don't study,
No time. So these days, I used to teach in the past. I used to teach a lot in the past, like Feng Shui, Patsu, I Ching, but I teach less because A, I have less time. B, I spend between a month and 2 months in meditation retreat every year. So I'm not so available anymore. I'm very happy to teach when I'm invited to teach, like in Finland or for Taoist people. I'm very happy to teach for them, but I'm obviously here I'm teaching far less than I used to. But I'm very happy to give talks, to speak to people, to give conferences. I find it's a way to touch people, which is very important. That's why I wanted to discuss talismans today, because it's a big subject. It's not very well understood. There's not very much information on it.
No, there is not. It's quite close to Taoism, or it's close to groups who are quite advanced too in the in any
So
kind of religion or any kind of philosophy. Yeah.
But then I these days I'm interested in talking about talismans to people for them to feel that we have a connection to heaven, whether we agree with it, we understand or not. But the world reality is far different from what we think. And to me, it's important now that I get opportunities to introduce people to that who want to be.
That's nice. Yeah. Well, I agree. There is you can work in a spiritual way. No, sometimes it's difficult to describe with analytic word what is a spiritual way, but when you go to touch the aura or the magnetic field or whatever you want to say, when this is in some ways broken or some way has some blockage, okay, there is many ways, and talisman is one of the ways who can go to touch something you cannot see. Feng Shui you can see, okay, because when you go to the house and you say change something, they don't know what you are changing, but they see there is a change. No, with the talisman it's more virtual in the sense. I mean, my reading is more virtual because you are not changing the people. No, I mean, or better, you are changing the people, but you don't put you don't move the sofa, you don't move the kitchen, or you don't move the tap, or you don't block the entrance or whatever. No, I think it's more to a higher level.
But in a way, I'm absolutely amazed because when I started doing talismans, of course I had to train, and then one day I thought, well, I really have to test them on people. I tested them on me, but I had to give it to people, because else it doesn't make anything. I mean, and then when I started mentioning talismans to my clients or my students, I was very cautious. Like I didn't want to appear like a mara or I don't know what, a sorcerer. I didn't want to do that. So I didn't know how people would react to it. But I'm really surprised, actually. People are far more are very easy for that. I had an email from one of my clients last week. She lost her father last May, and she had a very close connection to him, so she was upset by that. And we discussed it, and she asked me if I could do talisman. And then, so I picked up a talisman for her. I didn't send it to her. And then she sent me a really nice mail last week. She said, actually the talisman starts working when we start discussing it. So that's why I'm saying that to say that people are far less reluctant than we would think.
Yes.
And so she had a very good analogy. She said, talismans to me, it's a little bit like she's very Catholic in a good way. She goes to church. She has faith. She prays. So she has. She says, to me, a talisman is like when you get those blessed medals. The medals you can get in church, like with Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
And a priest will bless them. So what actually do you do when you bless something? You send some kind of energy to that object. And she said the medal radiates chi, energy. The blessing radiates. It's not something abstract. It does really have reality. For her, it has reality. And actually, I'm finding out that for a lot of people, those things are much more common and concrete than we would think, or than I thought.
Yeah. I was thinking when you talk, because you say sometimes people, they don't, they go against the talisman, or they start to say, no, I don't believe, and the effect is quite different, What's happened with the people who really has some anger inside, People who is angry with the life, people who is totally negative, What effect the talisman can have on these people?
That's a very interesting question. first thing I would like to say is I've talked of talismans to maybe 100 people, and not one of them told me I don't believe in those things. That's bullshit. No one. I'm surprised myself. So for anger, what is anger? I mean, if you look at it from an energetic point of view, what is it? It means something happens, whatever, something happens. And so that's something that happens in a physical way, in an energetic way, means there's some kind of energy building up that's going to give rise to anger. So something happens, but it also has a subline. It also has some chi, okay? And that chi gets more concrete and creates anger. So it means, if we go by that, and that's a very Taoist way of seeing things. And I learned that through meditation, actually. If every thought is based, it has a chi field. So if you can reach the chi field, the problem is sort of the chi starts flowing again, and things start to disperse. So means the emotion starts to disperse. If you disperse the chi that's behind the emotion, and the chi goes away, the emotion goes away.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
It's the mechanic. Of course, if you are very angry about the situation and you have been angry for that situation for, say, maybe 20 years, you have encapsulated a lot of chi. That might be a little bit difficult to wash away. So it might take time. Okay? Because you have a lot of it. It's like if you gain weight. If you put on 1 kilo, losing 1 kilo is not difficult. If you put on 20 kilos, then that's going to take a little more time. So if you have a little bit of anger, it's not too difficult to disperse. But if you have a lot of anger and if you hold on to it, then it's a little bit more difficult. It's going to take more time. And then the thing is, usually with anger, anger is one of the 3 poisons: greed, anger, and delusion. In Taoism, in Buddhism, there are 3 poisons: greed, we want things; anger, discussion; and delusion. Delusion is we don't really see the world for what it is. So we have a wrong idea of what the world really is about. And anger is a poison because actually most of the time we hang on to it. There's a situation, we get angry, and we, in a way, there's some kind of joy in that anger. It's a very strong thing that's building up inside. And we need to understand that we want to relieve that anger. So another way to address the problem is, if something happens that makes you hungry, for example, say that you have a family issue, and that family issue makes you angry. One way we could try to deal with it is we could work on the energetic fields of the person, for one thing, and in the same time work on another set of talismans to sort out those family issues. Okay? If that's very bad family issues, like child abuse plus rapes plus bankrupt plus I don't know what, it's going to take a long time, and sometimes it's not going to be possible to do something, or you're gonna have changes, but you cannot change the whole thing. So when you have a big problem, what do? Take a big problem, cut it into small problems. And solve one problem at a time. And then when one problem is solved, you solve the next one, and then the next one. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfectly. Yes. Okay, we go to small pause to hear some music, and we Vamos a volver a la entrevista con Nathalie, espero que les guste y después de unos minutos vamos a cerrar la entrevista. Como siempre, si les gustó y tienen ganas de escucharla en español, la vamos a traducir. Necesito que al menos 10 personas me digan traducila y después nos ponemos a traducir todo lo que es la conferencia o la entrevista. Okay, here we are back again after the music, and well, we need to ask to Nathalie, do you do service on Talisman? Okay, I'd like to know, for example, if one of the people of the audience wants to ask you about the Talisman. No, normally people who hear speak 3 languages: Italian, or Spanish, or English. They should ask only in English, or they can ask something to you, talk to you in Spanish. Or I know you speak French because you come from France. Which is the best language to communicate to you?
Well, I thought there are 2 languages. One is English and the other one is Google Translate.
Google Translator, okay, perfect. Okay.
I will just say that actually I do talismans for people, but normally people don't call me up saying, it's very rare. It happens, but it's not very rare. Normally people don't call me up and say, hey, I would like such and such talismans. Normally it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes it does, but it's not the most common thing. Yeah. Usually what happens is people call me up and say, well, I have these problems. What can we do? Yeah. And then based on what they say, I will do feng shui or patsu or chimen or yijing and or talismans. So it's more like I address a situation and then I will use the talismans or not use the talismans. So which means that if somebody sends me an email saying that, well, I want this talisman for maybe say prosperity, or I had a very bad car accident, or I want to have children, it will be dealt with differently. Sometimes I have to discuss with people to figure out what the situation is and give them the best solution. The exact talisman, sometimes it's very clear, and then we don't need to have lots of things. But then English is no problem. And then Google Translate amazingly does quite a good job.
Okay, perfect. If some people want to order you a talisman, okay, what they should do? They send you the email?
Yeah, they send me an email. That's probably the easiest thing. My email address, you can give them by typing, maybe it's nathalie@marip.com.
Okay.
And I usually answer my emails within a couple of days.
Okay.
Either the same day or a couple of days later, but I will always get back to you. If you send me an email and I don't get back to you after a few days, please do send again. It means it didn't reach me.
Okay, perfect. Super. And how much is a talisman?
It depends very much on what the situation is and how much, how complicated it's going to be in drawing. A prosperity talisman would be around 200 euros.
Okay.
180. A Tai Sui talisman is 500, 600 euros, because that's a very specific one. I mean, all are specific, but that one is a little bit complicated. A Bagua mirror talisman, for feng shui people, is 320 euros. Yeah. And I give the mirror, give you the mirror, and I activate back and front and tell you the date when you're going to put it on and how to do it.
Yeah, okay.
So, the range is between 150 till 600 euros.
Okay,
depends on the talisman.
It's perfectly affordable. And what do you need?
Perfectly affordable.
Yeah, it's okay.
I like it.
Well, I mean, it's just, sometimes you go to see people who do some kind of show similar, and they will ask you 500,000 euros, 2,000. Okay.
Well, if you feel like paying me 100,000, it's no problem. I'll be able to deal with it.
Okay, great.
No, but that would be overdone. I mean, I'm basically for that type of work. I'm basically acting as a soul healer.
Yeah.
So it has to be approachable.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and people, they send you the mail and they say, oh, I have love problems. What they should tell in the mail?
Well, saying that you have love problems is one thing. It's already a detail. So maybe you could have love problems for different things. For example, you can have love problems because you don't have a lover.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what you want to do is meet someone.
Yeah.
Because that's a specific thing.
Okay.
Then I will draw a talisman for you that has something to do with that.
Okay.
You may have love problems because your loved one is a little bit too curious in other people.
Yeah.
You know, like inviting third parties.
Yeah.
Then we will do that. You could have love problems because of routine.
Yeah.
Like you're not interested in other people, your loved one is not interested in other people, but when you sit down for dinner at night, everybody's bored.
Yeah.
Or everybody's texting on their telephone.
Okay.
So that's
in this case, you
depending
send
on
some.
the situation, we will address it differently.
Yeah. In this case, you send some travels to the people in order they have something to do. From tomorrow, many travels. They need to deal with the troubles, and okay, it's easy. Okay, they have something to do.
And to answer your questions, if you don't just send me an email saying I would like a talisman. I'm going to ask you a little bit more details. So just give me a few more details about your situation and what you would like, what happens, what you would like to happen. Okay, don't send me a 250-page novel, okay? But just give me the essential details.
Perfect.
And for example, you asked about anger before.
Yeah.
If you anger because you have job issues, that's one thing. That's going to be one type of talisman. If you're angry because you have family issues, that's another type of talisman.
Okay, great. Okay, super. Well, okay. I will invite how the people can reach you. You say go to Nathalie, then the email.
Nathalie.
Yep.
Arrobas.
Yep.
Marip marip.com.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a website?
Yeah, sure. Marip.com.
Marip.com. Perfect. Okay. We will write down it clearly
in French.
Okay, we will write down it clear to people can follow. Okay. Well, I think do you have anything to tell us? Do you want to say something else?
Yeah, I think it's my first formal interview or speech on talismans. I mean, and because I'm going to do much more starting end of the month. Yeah. And I'm very happy and I'm very thankful and grateful for you to give me this opportunity. I was very happy to talk to all of you and for me to invite me to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much to stay with us. And well, I hope to hear from you soon with new ideas and new things about talismans. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is Feng Shui Radio. Las mejores noticias en metafísica china.